Craig?
Just since you guys have already said you do advocate the initiation of force, would you personally be willing to stick a gun in my face to get me to obey the will of the majority, or would you find it more convenient for somebody else to do that? Or would you personally like to bear witness to that happening, somebody else doing it, or would you assume to turn and walk away so you don't have to be a party?
I like to watch.
Please return. Please repeat the question before you actually answer it.
Oh, what do you mean by force? Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah, he asked if I would be, since he assumes that our argument presupposes the use of force, and therefore would I be willing to initiate and use force myself, or would I be willing to watch the force? Now, obviously, I'm going to reject the presupposition. We're not arguing that our version of force, what we're saying, always uses force. Precisely because we see this as a democratic response, both in government and also in the market. So that's the problem. The classic problem of libertarians is the refusal to recognize force exists in the market as well. So we're going to try and use democracy in both places. If you ask me, am I going to sit around and watch somebody get beaten up? No, of course, I feel horrible about that for the same reason he would feel personal compassion. I have the same kind of compassion as our libertarian folks do.
Does that answer your question, Craig?
No.
Do you want to quickly rephrase it? We're going to try to do that as much as we possibly have time for. But
initially, you answered to Joey's question, to sum it all up, since it wasn't a yes or no, is yes, you do advocate the initiation of force, which means violence. That's what I'm saying. If I refuse to pay the taxes that the majority, just other people, vote on, which they supposedly claim jurisdiction over me as an individual, eventually the guns are going to come out if I refuse to leave my property or to go along to prison or whatever it is for the sentence that I'm supposedly supposed to serve. Now, if there's a gun involved, which there is, that's how governments get their way eventually, would you personally be the one willing to use the gun, or would you appreciate if somebody else do it for you?
Can I? Yeah. Okay, probably the big difference is, again, what we mean by force. For me, the consequences, for me personally, of not paying my property taxes are similar to the consequences of not paying my mortgage. You know, eventually someone is going to come and either make me do it or kick me out of my house. And that will involve a use of force. But for me, I don't sort of put the wheels turning in my brain and say one is force and the other is not. You know, the other is different.
Well, the mortgage is voluntary and the taxes not.
Okay, but the particular actual set of events, you know, what the camera would record would be first you get a notice that you've got to do it, then you get a delinquent notice, then eventually the sheriff or someone is going to come and make you do it or kick you out of your house. So the actual consequences of violating either the market forces, and I'm agreeing with Gregg, you know, or governmental, you know, institutional forces will be precisely the same, except unless in your own mind, you know, you've read enough books to tell you that one is not force and the other is not.
But you chose to take that mortgage in the first place.
Okay, but as I say, the actual, you know, what the camera would record as the actual set of events would be the same. And so, for me, you know, what counts is in the institutions of society. What will allow as many people as possible to stay in their houses, and what will allow as many people as possible to have a decent life. And I don't make that distinction, you know, that automatically anything that I'm doing that is a result of laws or taxes and so on is of an utterly different character than things that I'm doing as a result of the market. I just, to me, they're not. I don't say one is force and the other is not.